Is the fund expandable? In other words, if I raise a couple $1,000,000, can I raise a couple million more later? Well, you probably can. It depends, first of all, on a couple factors, such as what's in your documents. Your documents have to give you permission to raise more money. And you have to specify what happens to the investors if you raise more money. Do they have the first right of refusal to buy more shares? Do they get diluted? What happens to those people? Are you offering the next set of shares on the same terms? All those things have to be spelled out in your operating agreement. You have to write that down. So you have to think through these things in advance. There's a lot of things you have to think about in advance. And so the more of these things you put out on the table, the better off you're going to be. But the bottom line is, let's say you raise a couple $1,000,000 and you go out, you deploy the capital, and now you want to go raise some more. You don't necessarily have to start a brand new fund as long as, number one, your documents give you permission. Number two, as long as you're operating in the same kind of environment. Your fund is going to have a theme or some kind of a charter. And that theme or charter are going to give you permission to do certain things, like buy B-class apartment buildings in a certain geography. If you buy a different asset class, you're in a different geography, you might need to start a new fund. But as long as you're operating generally in the same environment, or as long as your investors are okay with you doing something that's somewhat different than what you're doing before, as long as everything is okay, then you could probably raise another funding round. So what's a funding round? Rounds are defined by the amount of money that you raise in a certain period of time. So let's say that you're selling shares to raise a couple $1,000,000 inside of a 6-month window of time. Your funding round is over either when you sell the amount of shares that you had planned to sell and you raise that amount of money, or when the clock expires. So those are your choices. So that's a funding round. And a fund can have many funding rounds inside of it. Sometimes you've heard of Series A, B, C, D. That's not the same as the classes of your shares. But in the venture world, there's Class A, there's Series A, Series B, Series C. So you have different kinds of rounds. And we're going to do something that's kind of similar, not exactly the same as in venture, but we're going to do something that's similar. So you can have many different rounds, and you can string those together. Now, I wouldn't tell you to go raise $10 million on your first day. Why? Because you have to deploy the capital, and you're paying the preferred to your investors on that capital. So you don't want to raise more money than you can deploy, because the money that you raise is going to be accumulating some preferred payment due to your investors. So you want to raise the money probably in certain kinds of steps or rounds that allow you to get where you're going, so that over a period of time your fund grows, but it grows in a calculated and smart way so that you optimize the deployment of the capital and the cost of the capital so that you maximize your own profits. Because remember, if you have to pay out more money to service the capital than you think, ultimately it comes out of your back end. I mean, at the end of the day, it always comes out of the promoter's share, because the promoter gets paid last. Promoter gets paid very well, but still last. So you want to be very good in managing the cash flow and the way that those responsibilities are accumulating. So the fund is very expandable, lots of flexibility. Syndications don't have the same kind of flexibility. Syndications, you're going to buy an apartment building, you're going to buy it, you're going to fix it up, you're going to sell it, you're going to return the money back to the investors. You don't have the same kind of flexibility. That is totally a different kind of situation. But a fund where you're going to retain the principal and you're just going to keep doing deals, you have lots and lots of flexibility. And that's the reason that so many people like doing funds. And investors like them too, because it's a set it and forget it kind of a deal. So take this advice, go make something happen, whether it's in syndication or a fund, and enjoy this business because it's a great business, and then go out and stake your claim.